And just like that, we are here again. We are reviewing and rewatching, recapping, maybe first time viewing the show. I don't know. I presume everybody who's been following along with this series is very familiar, but maybe once we grow out of the subscriber count that I have right now, which I hate calling that, once the community actually grows, we might bump into people who've never watched the show. And for all us OG people, if and when that happens, support them because they're going to be in for a ride of their lives. It is Sex in the City, the Sex in the City, the original series. So I figured that one of the most important things to remember is today is September 11th. So we are going to have my background memorializing that day as I'm recording. And, one of the most important things is that this show that I'm watching right now for this episode and this season in 1998, 9/11 had not happened yet. But in respect to everyone for that day, not just us New Yorkers, people who have lost loved ones along the way in that time period, I remember exactly where I was when that happened. I can recall every moment, every step. And I cannot believe it has been 24 years. So this time next year, when I'm done with these videos, recapping all of the entire 6 seasons, which we have calculated could be 11 months, will be 25 years. So respect to all of that and respect to September 11th. It was a day that would live in infamy, as you all know. So this episode is season 1, episode 7, The Monogamists, which in turn means that there is no such thing. Why, you say? Well, you'll know. And for those who've seen this, you know. So, guess what? Stay tuned. It's coming. Scene opens. And it opens to one of the most iconic views of New York City, which is so fitting for the day that I'm recording, the Twin Towers. Literally, this is how this scene opened, which my hairs stood up when I saw that. I was like, I have to include this because, again, this is 1998 when this was recorded, not this recording, but the show. So the girth and the strength of those buildings, it took me aback because I haven't seen a view like that in a very long time. So it was just very fitting. So as the scene is panning around, you hear Carrie narrating that in the streets of Manhattan of over 7 million people who all think they own the streets of New York, it was whittled down to just 2 people, us. And then they pan into Big and Carrie, which is what she calls us. And they're, hugging and, walking down the street and pretending like no one exists. And she's narrating that, we spend 4 hours talking that fly by. And here's the thing that struck me, what she said. Days without seeing each other seems like weeks. Hold on to that. Because there's a reason for that. And I didn't realize that until just now. Because again, I've rewatched this several times, but sometimes when you're thinking analytically for this purpose, it really dawns on you some of the telltale signs of what's happening on this show. And also what I was also thinking as well as she's blabbering around how, she's all in love, and they're all huggy and huggy. I just saw all these people on the street. And again, I go back to that was what's missing in Just Like That, the real New Yorkers. Now, I know if those were extras in that scene, that's a hell of a lot of extras to pay for, but it made it real. So they start kissing, which by the way, when you look at it close up, and I know that I know she's married, so they really couldn't delve deep into it, but no. So this whole thing is set up because she has been so enthralled by Mr. Big and has been so committed into him that she's neglected her friends. So the next thing you have is her in her bedroom, and Miranda calls her and sarcastically says, "Hi, I'm looking for my friend Carrie." Listen, we've all been there. We've all done that in our 20s. At least I can say for me. I can't speak for anybody else. In the fact that, you're so involved with someone. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I do want to state that when you are first starting out in your relationship, it is important to try to get to know the person, right? And not jump into bed and a relationship and meeting your friends. So I give credit what credit is due. And Miranda is sarcastically saying, "Hey, is this you? Oh my God." And Carrie is, guiltily saying, "I know, I'm sorry. I haven't been in touch." And Miranda's like, "Because you've been blinking your brains out." And Carrie's like, "Yes, but she said that she hasn't been hit so hard like this since," and then she stops short. She says, "No, I don't want to compare it to anybody because with everybody else, it's failed." Well, I wish I can say that this happened to this as well, but we all know what happens. So they make plans to have dinner that evening because Big has dinner plans. So they didn't have anything planned together. Got it. That's Carrie's rendition of what Big told her. Rendition of what she thought she heard. Here goes the crazy town. Remember, we lost her last episode. She's in episode 6. Go check it out. We lost Carrie. She's gone. She's officially part of the dark side of the Force. That's what I have to call it. The dark side of the Force. So now this whole scene is set up for that Carrie has to meet the tribunal for dinner, which is her friends, and they all look amazing, and they're all sitting at the dinner table, and this whole thing is going to be a blow up. So I'm cutting my ins and outs shorter so I can upload faster, so please forgive me as I go in and out. And let me know if you like when I say, "Stay tuned." Or do you like me to say, "Stay tuned"? I haven't gotten anybody say anything bad about it. I just enjoy doing it. So if you enjoy listening to that, you could also, you know what? Subscribe. Stay tuned. So as the tribunal was in session in the restaurant between the 4 ladies, none of them were really too worried about Carrie. They kind of understood that she was getting to know Big in her mind, and everything was squared away. And they were all very excited to express the things that had happened since Carrie had not been around. So let's go around the room to see how all this pans out because, oh boy, do I have some comments to say. 1, Miranda apparently closed the big merger deal. Shocking? No. Samantha was obsessed of finding a new apartment. Because nothing is ever not sexual with her. I love it. And then Charlotte, as they claim, was practically engaged. And then you see her in a park meeting up with this guy and his beautiful golden retriever dog. And I say that because my last dog was a golden retriever, so I have a lot of love for golden retrievers. And I want to say his name was Ted, and he was something, 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 and he was perfect. Perfect for her. Even so much so that, shockingly, Samantha said that we met him and he's perfect. That's very rare for Samantha to say. But since Charlotte has been practically engaged in almost every season, I swear to God, I feel like she's been practically engaged in almost every season because every guy she meets is almost the one. And Miranda is like, even his dog is perfect. That I respect. And that Charlotte says, "I think he's the one." Again. We go through this merry-go-round roller coaster with her so many times, and it's we watched it so many times, and like I think we should do a count. I think when we're done with this series in this time next year, we should do a recount of how many times she's been with the one. And the problem is, and this just set me off. Okay, they show her and lover boy in his room with the dog watching them as they're kissing, which may I just say, that's extremely odd. Even though I had my dog, there's just certain things that my dog doesn't see. Nor do I want to see my dog doing certain things either. Hello? And as they're kissing, he's trying to shove her head down to his private area to give him a BJ a few times. Really, dude? No one after the age of 20 should be doing that. We've all been there. Well, most of us. I don't know about you, but I've had that happen to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And that's a very young, stupid thing. But dude, he looks like he's in his mid 30s, at least 40. You're still trying to force someone's head to give you a BJ? How old are you? And secondly, he's ugly as shit. I'm sorry. And it's not because he's trying to do that. I was just like, no. But, we're in Charlotte's world and she's just so happy to find anybody. God. So she's expressing to the girls what had happened. And then she's telling them, I don't like doing it. And the shock on Samantha's face, she goes, are you kidding me? And, Miranda says, okay. So this whole conversation leads to Charlotte saying she doesn't like it. She's tried it. She's even tried it on a banana. It's just that she can't deal with it. Okay. Sorry, I'm still under the weather. So if I sneeze, I'm not editing it out because I don't like doing that. So bless me. So this whole thing about her not liking doing it and her trying, I feel like, number one, the banana comment happened somewhere in just like that. I don't know why, with Charlotte specifically. Either she showed someone to do something with a condom, with a banana. I don't know, but it sounded so familiar. And can we remember what happened with her and Harry and just like that while she was going to give him head? Or can I say head? I don't know. BJ. Let's go BJ. And that her daughter, Lily, Rose. I don't even know. I think it's Lily. Walked in. So I guess she got over the aversion of whatever the hell she's talking about in this scene. Okay. I just find it so funny how they have changed so much. And granted, she is married to her husband. So that was expected. I just found it very funny how adamant she was that she hates it and she gets choked up about it. And she is surprised that Carrie enjoys it. And Carrie expresses, well, I don't like it. It's not my favorite thing I order from the menu, but I will try it from time to time. I'm like, that's an interesting analogy. Not on the menu, my favorite menu. Okay. I liked it. That was cute. And with the right person, it could be really good. And this whole conversation leads into the fact that some guys get offended if you don't do it. Some guys get offended if you don't finish the task fully. I'm not going to say it. Y'all figure it out. Okay. And it is to the point where the whole purpose of this is to say Charlotte doesn't like doing it. And Miranda's like, well, if you don't do it, how could you expect him to do it to you? Charlotte is like, I don't expect him to do it at all. She really, really needs to get out of her comfort zone because that is shocking to me. And then everybody's like, well, hey, if you don't expect it, then I wouldn't expect you to do it either. What kind of simple sex is this girl having? And do we find out? Oh, yes, we do. Because as much as she claims that she doesn't do certain things, Charlotte has a little freaky deaky in her. It's coming. You remember this. Remember this episode and the 4 others that came before. Because something comes up that flipped me over my chair in the next episode, which will come out soon. Stay tuned. The tribunal is over. And now we have the big business dinner debacle. It's coming. As the ladies finish up their wonderful tribunal dinner to reconnect, which I totally respect and love. I love that. I tell you, I miss this about the show, and just like that, completely. They're walking out of the restaurant, or walking, yeah, towards the exit. And Samantha seems to notice that Big is in a corner with someone. And she tells Carrie, isn't that Big? And Carrie looks over and sees him. She goes, oh, yes, let me go and stop by and say hi. Okay. She looks great. This outfit that she's wearing is amazing. I don't know if she has any underwear on, but this is one of her better ones. I did enjoy it. So she walks over to the table that Mr. Big is sitting at, and he's facing her, and the person and the woman that's facing him can't really look at her. And she says, surprise. Because in her world, it's been only them in the entire tri-state New York area for the last few weeks, so much so that she's given up all of her friendships just to be focused on him, even though a few days without seeing him feels like weeks. I told you so. You remember that, right? This is how he's doing this. Okay? He's like, oh, hello. And she looks down at the woman and he goes, oh, this is Julia. And it clicks finally in Carrie's head. I guess, the air and the air went back into her brain. And she's like, nice to meet you. Can I talk to you for a second? And he gets up and she addresses him. She goes, are you on a date? And he goes, well, sort of. What does that mean? Sort of what? Is that like being sort of pregnant or sort of drunk or sort of high or sort of stupid? There is no sort of. Either you are or you're not. And then she says, well, I thought you had a business dinner. And he says, no, I had a dinner. To clarify, that means that he was telling her, because she's in La La Land, that he's going out with someone else. And she's like, I didn't realize that you were dating other people. He goes, well, not a lot of them. Señor de mi vida Dios. How they wrote her to be contained is so not the New York way, at least for what I do and my friends and Latinas. And just New Yorkers. I would have cold clocked him. Okay? But she kept it real. Because, his response was like, what do you mean? Not a lot of them. I don't like him. He grew on me, and then she murdered him. But this season, because I didn't know back in 1998 this guy was going to play such a pivotal role in this life of hers, he pissed me off. So disrespectful. And she's so stupid. So the two of them make a beautiful couple together. That's why they lasted so long. In between the 22 years and her dating Aiden around that time too. Oh my God, I'm getting trauma effects back. So she says, well, he says to her, why don't we talk about this on Saturday? So to be clear, you on a date, sort of. You're in front of the girl that you sort of been with also, and you're asking her out for a date while you're still on the other date. And she's like, yeah, sure. Enjoy your date. And she taps him on the chest. And I don't know what the hell's happening, because my brain, literally, if you see fire coming out, if I can put the fire explosions coming out of my head, this is what was happening in my head. I was losing it. Thank God her friends already knew something was wrong, because they started to walk away as she started to walk towards them. Okay. And she walks towards them and says, I can't believe it. He's dating other people. The one that she's been tied up with all this time. And I'm like, I believed her when she kind of sort of said in the beginning of the episode that they've been together and smooching and cooching and smacking and lacking and blah, 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 all that shit. Does it get any better? No. if you could believe it, because I know half of you've seen this, it gets worse. Stay tuned. So I wanted to separate this scene because this is one of my favorite scenes. So the next part is that Carrie is walking up and down in her apartment and she's narrating that she can't believe that Big is seeing other people, because in her mind, she's saying that she couldn't even imagine seeing anyone else. It's almost like putting another outfit in an overstuffed bag, but for Big, it's so natural. Well, yeah. When you have days without seeing him, what did you think he was doing? Waiting for you to call you? I don't think so. And she is narrating again to herself saying, in this New York City area where there's infinite possibilities, as she's typing on her computer, I guess this is going to be part of her column. I wonder if this is part of her column. She says, is monogamy too much to expect? Then we go into the variation of people that have their versions of monogamy. We have this guy, who his version of monogamy is that he's been in a long-term relationship for the past year, but for him, a long-term relationship means that he's been dating hookers. Then we have this girl who says that the problem with monogamy is that it is so dull. Bored housewife, desperate housewife? I think so. Then we have this guy who is hilarious. He goes, I have been in a monogamous relationship with my lover, and in the 90s, we just don't have, we have sex, but we don't exchange fluids. Hello, as this guy starts walking past him. Hilarious. Then we have this one who is, I don't know, she's cracked out. She looks like she's high, and she says monogamy is wonderful, that she doesn't have to shave her legs as often for being in a monogamous relationship. And she's like this, stiff on a beach chair thingy in a pool. I don't even understand what that one. But my favorite one was this guy when he says, and I quote, yes, I believe in monogamy. I've been in a monogamous relationship. Why? What you hear? I know this guy everywhere. He's in every office, every place, every nook and cranny of New York. The one that is deny everything. You know who he is. You've met him. You've probably dated him. Some of you may have married him. Some of you may have married him and still be married to him and don't realize it. Wake up. Fabulous. I thought this was hysterical because it brings back what I said. She is in Venus and he is messing around with everybody that he can find in Mars. Every Martian, every non-Martian. I go back to what I said. How they made this couple remain a couple, though he puts her through hell, and they end up getting married. And we never see the marriage, because we really never see them married, because we went from 6 years of hell, he's moving back, they're getting married. In the movie, they're not getting married, then they get married, and then the second movie, she's cheating on him with Aiden, and then he buys her a ring, because she's pouting and pooting and all this other crap. Why didn't you buy me something pretty, not a TV in the room? You know the second movie. I don't have to repeat myself, do I? And then it ends, and then the next scene we have is in Just Like That, and he's on a freaking Peloton and he dies. I have no clue how is she as a wife. Do you? I would have loved for them to at least give us a few episodes of something related to this relationship to explain to me how did these two not only stay together, but how were they in the marriage? Because we only got bits and pieces of their bullshit. Okay? There's no way in hell she could have been that happy. Obviously she wasn't, because, there's many people on the internet that says that she could have called 911 and that she murdered him. I was not of that belief. But then when I got further into the And Just Like That series, I started to lean that way a little bit. Maybe she could have called 911 instead of screaming and crying and howling and watching him die in her arms. Yeah. Now we get into the other funnier parts. Oh my God. This episode really, really brought a lot out of me. And of course, my friends who are sitting next to me, who now brought their own popcorn. Not because I said anything. I just didn't have any. And I just said, hey, can you pick up some popcorn? Yes, we had popcorn and we didn't have drinks. Every once in a while we had a martini or something. We were more focused on enjoying the moment. And I remember I couldn't drink that much even then. But they're pushing me to get hooked on this show no matter what I feel or felt at that moment. And my head was exploding. Next up, Samantha and her real estate adventures, literally adventures, because this woman can turn anything into a sexual moment. And that is why we needed Samantha back, because that's a skill. Samantha and her real estate sexual escapades, words that I never thought I could ever put together in any sentence, but this is Samantha. So it works. Somehow, I don't know how, but she makes it work. So we're going into an apartment that she is destined to want to find because she's trying to move. And she's with the real estate agent and she's showing her one of this apartment. And I'm just going to interject something right here. This apartment, and I don't know how many people have ever watched this movie, but there's a movie called Barefoot in the Park. I think it was out in 1968 and it stars Jane Fonda and Robert Redford. And that apartment, I'm going to show the picture of the apartment of Barefoot in the Park here, compared to what I just saw, reminded me so much of that movie. And that is one of my most favorite movies of all time, like top 10. I am dying to buy the actual hard copy so I can keep it on DVD. Because yes, I still have a DVD player. Yes, I do. Because one day when we have no power and we have to rely on, well, not power, no internet, and we have to rely on going back to the oldies, I will always have movies that I can enjoy. And that is one of my top 10 favorites. It is hilarious. If you have ever seen it or you know about it, drop a comment below and let me know if it's something that you've watched. And if you haven't watched it and you want to go back and watch it, I think you can find it somewhere on one of the streaming services. But one of my favorite movies. And that apartment is so reminiscent of that apartment. So I really enjoyed it. So the broker is telling her, hey, this is a great apartment. And Samantha's not interested. And she's telling her, well, wait a minute. She opens the curtain. And of course, there's a view of New York City. And Samantha's like, wow, but it's out of my price range. And which is shocking. I didn't know she had a price range. I guess she's more frugal with her money than you know who. Carrie. And the real estate broker says, I know, but there's one thing I want to ask you is promise me that you will never work with another broker on for anything that you want to rent, which obviously she doesn't know Samantha because that's like asking Samantha never to have sex with anybody else again. Because if she had known that, she would have never told her that. And Samantha's like, of course. The next scene you have is she's walking into another apartment with, the hot male real estate agent who has a British accent. And she's walking around the apartment. And by the way, none of these apartments I see so far, other than the one that looks like Barefoot in the Park, which still doesn't look like a Samantha, really impressed me. So he's explaining to her what the apartment is and how it looks like. And she's walking around touching the walls. And then all of a sudden, she turns around and he comes by and he starts kissing her because that is her favorite thing, combining real estate and sex. I love you. I miss you, Samantha. Why, oh, why you left us? Oh. And that is the whole purpose of the scene, to set up Samantha for her next arc, which will be coming very soon. So the next scene you have is with Carrie and Stanford. I'm not gonna rant because we all know now why Stanford has not been properly told what happened to him, because it was the actor's wishes never to be killed off on the show. So I'm gonna respect that. They're having drinks at a bar and he's telling her that, I guess Carrie's explaining to him what happened with Big, and he says, oh, come on. Monogamy is out. It had a brief comeback in the 90s, but it's not in anymore. And I started thinking, I'm like, That sounds about right. I kind of remember that because my formative years would have been in the late 80s, and that's when the AIDS conversation started and Just Say No and all this other stuff. So I kind of remember that pretty much anybody who had any kind of need for a sexual revolution, we didn't. So it would fall around that time. So I would agree that he was correct on saying that. I didn't realize there was a stoppage on the monogamy train anytime after that in 1998 because I already had my kid and I wasn't involved in that. But okay. Then, as they're speaking, guess who shows up? Now, I want to remember his name. I'm going to say his name is Jared. But if we are all OG watchers of the series, we know that this guy shows up again later in the series as a completely different character. That one's going to be fun. And we know that this guy was married in real life to Jennifer Anderson. Not at that time, but I started to put the pieces together. Okay? So Stanford introduces Carrie to him and he says, "Oh, I know. I read your column. Nice shit." I'm like, "No, you don't. No, you don't. Nobody reads the column." And they're flirting and he's flirting with her and he's telling her, "Hey, I'm going to have a party. I'm going to put your name at the door. Would you like to come?" And she's like, "Oh, okay, maybe." This comes back and bites us in the ass later. It really does. The next thing you have is Carrie is going home and she is exhausted because she feels like she used to get such a high when guys like that would flirt with her, but now she's just tired. So she gets onto her chair and, I really miss her apartment. Even when it was just like that, not and just like that. Just that whole thing. It was so cozy and warm. I would love to have been in that apartment for myself. And she lays down and the phone rings and guess who it is? Big. And again, she picks up the phone and he's just automatically speaking as if she should know who he is. It annoys the crap out of me when people do that. But she's had sex with him and she believes that she's been in a relationship. So it makes sense. And he is confirming the date on Saturday. And she's like, "Yeah, sure. Why not? Why wouldn't we have a date?" Pendeja, estúpida, loca. Translate yourself. And he is saying, "Okay, I was just checking and I miss you, baby." I would cut it off at that, but I can't. I'm biting my tongue. I miss you, baby. She's like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, no, 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 no. Fireball. That's all I'm saying. I'm throwing fireballs at the TV screen at this point. Darts, fire. Next up. Stay tuned. So this scene is the one that set it off for me. Some good writing. So because Carrie refuses to ask questions to Big about what the hell is going on, she decided to take Miranda out to dinner to ask her the questions that she should be asking Big. And she tells Miranda, she tells her what happened, what he said. "Oh, I miss you, baby." And she says, "Do you think that was some sort of coded mea culpa?" And Miranda is expressing because, yeah, he messed up because he was on a date with another girl. Probably. Correct. And then Carrie goes into this tailspin conversation. And if I get this wrong, I've only watched this a million times and I still cannot, if I cannot say it correctly, forgive me. So I have to paraphrase. She goes into soliloquy about, well, if that's the case, then everything that he's ever told me that I thought was sincere is left up to interpretation. And what I think he's feeling for me is reflections of what I am projecting on him. I think. So much so that even Miranda was confused. She goes, "What?" So at least I didn't feel bad after watching it a million times that I am not crazy, that this woman is out of control. She's out of control. We lost her. Gone. As this is happening, guess who shows up? Skipper. Walking arm in arm with this girl. And they stop by the table because they're eating dinner outside. And, he says hello to Miranda and to Carrie. and they introduce each other. And I swear to God, Miranda is looking at him like, darts on a wheel. And he introduces his thing as, I don't even know her name. And, the woman introduces to Carrie. She goes, "Oh, I know you, Carrie. We all love your column at Vogue." "No, you don't. Stop it. Nobody reads the column. It doesn't exist. Not even in this world." And Miranda's shocked. "Oh, you work at Vogue?" She goes, "Yes, I'm some highfalutin crap thing." And Skipper and her are speaking to the two amigas that they just came back from a restaurant, a little hole in the wall, which, by the way, for New Yorkers, a hole in the wall restaurant is the best restaurant you can go to. And if you want to know some hole in the wall restaurants, let me know, because there's plenty of them that you will be amazed at how good it is. May not be the fanciest thing, but you will eat good. And that's what she says to the group, that, it was a French bistro and they've never eaten so well. And that even her time in France, she's never eaten so well. Got it. You better go and check it out before the Times give it a rave, which I guess at that time we were still using newspapers. Hence my newspaper shirt. I love my newspaper shirt. I wear it. I love it. So in respect to when we used to read paper, not watch only videos, you know what I'm talking about. I don't even see a magazine stand anymore. So as they're walking away, Skipper and the Vogue, Miranda is checking him out. She says, "He looks different." And then we find out that she broke up with him because she says, "I didn't think Skipper was into that type of girl." And Carrie says, "No, he's not. He was into you, but you broke up with him." I'm like, oh, okay. We didn't see that. I guess they're not together anymore. Explains the last episode of, hanky panky spanky man. And apparently she's like looking at him. She goes, "Is he working out?" Leave it to Miranda. When she can't have something, she wants it. The next scene we have is Skipper is trying to have relations with Vogue, Miss Vogue, and they're jumping into the bed. Miranda decides to call Skipper, not knowing what's happening. She leaves him a voicemail, or she's leaving him a voicemail. "Hey, Skipper, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. You look great." And Skipper, as he's on top of Vogue, picks up the phone and he is listening to Miranda. He goes, "Hi, how you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, how you doing? You look great. I haven't seen you. Maybe we should get together sometime. And I miss you." As he's still on top of Vogue. And he's all fidgety. He says, "Oh, okay, I'll give you a call." He hangs up the phone and he tells Vogue, "Listen, the woman that I think I'm in love with just called me and she wants me back. So yeah, it's over." Not what she said at all. And this is what I say. We all have a little crazy in us. Not just the females, but the guys too. But he is from Venus. He is nowhere near Mars. He's totally a Venus. Okay? And the woman looks at him and says, "You're breaking up with me while you're still inside of me?" Now we have a show. That's Darren Star writing right there. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's the kind of thing that makes you stop and think, has that ever happened to you? Never. Nunca. En mi vida. Never in my life. But I appreciated it on the show because that's why this show is so successful. I freaking love it. Next up, the big question. Big and Carrie. If you really want to see fire coming out of my head, stay tuned and subscribe. The scene opens with Charlotte coming out with Dog Man, or I should say BJ Man, and he expresses to her that, hey, maybe we should not see other people, which is the validation that Charlotte needed, that she's in a committed, disgusting relationship with a dog and a man. Got it. Then we have Samantha and her real estate lover making out in every location that he shows her. Great. the next scene we have is now Carrie and Mr. Big, where he is taking her to a dinner party. And he's telling her that, this is a friend of mine and this is his second wife and she's a wonderful gal. And then all of a sudden some chick comes in and kisses him smack on the lips right in front of Carrie. And he's like, oh, oh, mm-hmm. Okay. That's one. He introduces her to Carrie and she says, oh, Carrie Bradshaw, I love your column. I'm not going to say anything. And that she turns to Big and says, hey, you still have my passport. What he's doing with her passport? I guess because it's days between him and Carrie that I guess he travels internationally and he steals passports. He says, this is a girl that I've traveled with. And Carrie makes the quip, oh, internationally, I would presume. He goes, let's go find my friend. So they're walking through the crowd and he finds his friend. I want to say his friend is Matt. I could be wrong. I know this guy. I don't know where I know him from, but I know him from another show, another movie. I can't remember who he is, but I should have Googled him, but I don't have time for that. So he introduces Matt, or I want to say Matt, to Carrie, and not even. This is what he says. I want to introduce you to someone very special to me. And his friend says, Julia, you big ding doofus. First of all, and I go to Mr. Big, you're dating intermittently or actively during this faux relationship you're having with Carrie. The last thing you want to do is give any opportunity for any of your friends to give any leeway or any name that's not the one that's in front of you. And she's like, no, Carrie Bradshaw. He goes, oh, and he's like, Big is trying to justify the conversation. Carrie Bradshaw. She writes for the New York Star, the column Sex in the City. Finally, I got to remember the freaking name of this damn column and this damn newspaper that she's in. It's not the New York Times. It's the New York Star. And he's like, his friend says, well, if you want a lot of material, you got the right guy here. And she's like, oh, are we dating? I thought we were just sleeping together. And Big is like, well, probably after tonight we won't be. You think? You big whore. She gets upset and she walks away. I'm like, oh my God, Carrie's going to get cojones. She got her cojones. So she walks away and he goes after her. He's like, come on, you can't be serious. And she's like, well, how many women are you dating? And he goes, in the tri-state area. Then Carrie says, well, there's Julia. And then there's international chick that's kissed him in the lips. And then there's me. And he's like, come on, can't we just enjoy the party? And she's like, I don't know, can we? He goes, what do you want from me? Carrie looks at him and says, I don't want anything. In my head, I'm like, no, she's just going to let you hurt her for the next 6 seasons and 2 movies. And then she's going to kill you in the first episode of And Just Like That, take all your money, and then she's going to try to make a go with it between Aiden, who then she ruins that character, and then, Duncan, the Hobbit. With your money. She gets her revenge in some sort of sick, twisted way. And she walks away narrating that she feels like a fool because she's put herself out there emotionally and she didn't realize that she was the only one on the ledge. Well, true. But since we only saw bits and pieces of her version of what she thought was a relationship, I can't really tell you if he had given her signs other than the fact that she said there's days that go by that I don't see him and it feels like weeks. And the fact that she doesn't know him. And let's not forget the last episode where she asks, is this real? And he says, could be, because that one flew right over her head like an airplane. Okay. They really worked this one. They stretched out this narrative for as long as they could. Are you hating like I'm hating right now? Let me know. Because next up, is Miranda and Skipper. The second best part of this episode. Oh my God. They do it. Miranda and Skipper. Oh my God, I can't wait. So the scene is opening with both of them in her bed. He came over, obviously they had sex. And he is expressing how much he misses her, and she's telling him the same. And that, he says that I miss you so much that I broke up with that girl as soon as you called. And Miranda's like, oh, you didn't have to do that. And he's like, I did. I was so crazy that I was still doing it with her while I broke up with her. And Miranda's like, what? Ill? And thank God. And he's like, yeah, isn't that crazy? She goes, yeah, that is crazy. First of all, I'm not ready for this committed relationship, and we can still see each other while we're seeing other people. Sure. There's honesty in that comment. And he's like, what are you talking about? Why the hell did you call me in the first place? And he jumps out of bed. He goes, why did you call me? I am not your stud horse. Miss Darla F. First of all, what? First of all, what? What? Stud horse? Miss Darla F. Hilarious. Best line ever. Because I don't see him like that at all. And he is really upset because he really wanted to be in a relationship with her. And she wanted to be in a relationship with everybody. And he walks away. And I'm like, that's what Carrie should have done. When you come to think about it, that's what Carrie should have done. Because I don't think we see Skipper again after this episode. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we're going to go through the rest of it, but I think this is the end of Skipper and Tennille. Like Captain and Tennille. I give him a lot of props, less the breaking up with Vogue while he's still inside of her rendition. But that is the kind of cojones that Carrie should have. And does she have it? Of course not. Are you crazy? It would be a completely different story if it was. Now we have our wonderful, lovely Charlotte, who is again back in the apartment with dog lover, BJ lover, and they're at it again, kissing while the dog is staring at them. And all of a sudden, as they're kissing, he's doing the I'm going to get BJ tug and pull, and she keeps fighting it, which is very disturbing. I hate the scene. I hate this whole scene. And he finally says, what's wrong? And she goes, I don't like it. And he looks at her with, what do you mean you don't like it? I don't like giving BJs. And he is shocked, and he's like, well, hello. I plan to get a lot of BJs in the future, and I hope that you're in it. And she's like, what do you mean? Well, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to have to find them elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have to say, at least he's being honest about it. And she gets up and she's like, you mean to tell me that you're willing to give up a good relationship with a woman who is loving and kind and the possible future mother of your children, which all he asked was for them not to see anybody. I didn't see a whole marriage certificate coming. But again, this is Charlotte. And he's like, you're absolutely right. Come here. Can you at least lick my balls? Oh, dear Lord. How old is this guy? And I'm not going to take credit away from him. That's what he likes. That's what he wants. He's not going to find somebody to do it for him. He is telling you that he's going to cheat on you. That cannot be any more transparent than anybody I've ever met, because he could have done worse. He could have taken Charlotte and done the deed with other people without telling her. Like, Mr. Big. Charlotte gets upset and she walks out. Good for her. Another one who has more balls than Carrie. For the love of God, Carrie. Why? Now we have Samantha and her real estate lover looking at an apartment, which again doesn't seem to be fitting for Samantha, but okay, we'll go with that. And she's like, oh, I love it. And, they get turned on and he turns off the lights and he starts kissing her and they start going at it. And guess who walks in? Her other broker who made her promise not to see anybody else because she thinks she's in a relationship with her. And, Samantha is uncovered and he covers her. And she goes, the broker, I can't believe you're using another broker. And Samantha's like, I can't believe you weren't going to show me this apartment. And the broker walks out. They're at it again. And my whole thing is I'm watching this and all I know is that in the background, the window curtains are open. Anybody from those buildings can see right into that apartment. And they're just going at it like two kids on a not even two kids. Forgive me. Two horny people. And I'm like, this is a great time to have binoculars. And this is why you own binoculars when you're in New York. If you don't have one, get some. And if you're a New Yorker, you know what I mean. Because you see some of the freaky, dickiest things. Forget cable, forget HBO. Just put on your binoculars. It's going to be un show. Next up, the stupidest thing that Carrie can do. Okay? She's a freaking high schooler. So guess what? Stay tuned. Oh boy, Carrie. Carrie is at the party that Jared had invited her, that he was going to put her name at the door. And they're sitting together and they're flirting. And he is making quips and she's making quips. And whatever quip she said made him express himself and say, I'm in love with you. I'm freaking in love with you. Whatever. The whole point is, here's the thing. He says, would you like to come home with me tonight? Okay. She looks at him and she goes, I have to make a call. She gets up and she calls Mr. Big. And she's telling Mr. Big that I'm at a party for fabulous people under 30. And she's going on, and that I met a guy. And Mr. Big is like, what the hell is going on? And all of a sudden, Jared comes up from behind her and puts his arm around her. And he goes, and he just put his arm around me. And she's telling this to Mr. Big, and Mr. Big is looking at this. He's like this. I'm like, mm-hmm. And he's like, could you just come over? And she goes, no, you come over here. He goes, I would, but I don't know where you are. And then she tells him that she's at the Luna Park Cafe. Meet me out front. Got it. Next thing you have is that she's standing in the park, in the dark, alone, in a dress. And she's realizing that she's in the park alone at 3 a.m. in the morning. And then all of a sudden you see Mr. Big coming by. He goes, where the hell have you been? And she's like, I've been waiting for you. He goes, I've been waiting for you at the entrance for 30 minutes. She goes, that over there is not the entrance. Over here is the entrance, the front entrance. He's like, no, it's not. Where I was the entrance. She goes, no, you see those doors? That's the entrance. He's like, what? He goes, and I'm just standing there. I'm like, really? We're going to have the next 10 minutes talking about where the entrance is? And she says, well, it depends on where you come from. I have no idea what that means. An entrance is an entrance is an entrance. And he's like, okay. You dragged me out of here at 3 a.m. to be in the park. What is going on? And she's like, I've done the merry-go-round thing. I've done the whole crazy thing. And I just finally found someone that I want to stand still with. And don't you want to stand still with me? Batting her eyes, playing with her hair. And he's like, you asked me out here at 3 a.m. to ask to stand still with you? And she goes, yeah. And he's like looking at her with his little crinkle in his forehead. And he thinks about it and he's like exasperated. He puts his arm around her and all of a sudden they're standing still in the park at 3 a.m. And she's narrating, in the infinite possibilities of New York, it's always nice to have just one option. Do you realize how sucked in we get into this with Carrie? How I think at the time, I didn't. My friends were like, isn't this funny? I'm like, this is the biggest bowl of crap I've ever seen in my life. For both of them. Like, what, how old is she that she's calling him on the phone? What, I won't say I haven't done that. When I was a teenager, and the end. Epilogue. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Okay. Well, epilogue. Here's what my thoughts are. They're going to not be too long. I do see where Crazy Carrie comes out. We've all established that she goes down a dark path. Got it. I understand that Skipper probably doesn't show up anymore after he's been called himself a stud horse. Thank God. Samantha is Samantha. We're not going to cite her for anything because she's doing exactly what she's doing. Charlotte is forever being engaged to every person that she's ever met. Got it. Here's what I want to throw at you from the male perspective. Do you honestly believe in real life someone, any man, whether he's big caliber or Skipper caliber, is going to make the effort to go out with Carrie, meet her in a park after she calls him up like a teenager and tells him that I have a guy with his arms around me, and to be standing still in the park? What is the purpose of big to Carrie? What does he get out of this? This is what I don't understand. This doesn't seem realistic to me. Not in 1998, not in 1978, not now. Most guys won't put up with that stupidity. I don't get why he continuously feeds into her crazy. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, Skipper put his foot down. He goes, goodbye. Charlotte put her foot down and she told him to go get his own BJs, and, why is it that Big is enthralled with Carrie and stands out? Now, we all know he puts her through a lot, but isn't some of it his fault? Because he continuously stays with her, knowing that she's a little cuckoo in the tuku. There's something going on with the top floor of her head. Is that the attraction? Is that the attraction? Is that the thing that guys want, that they want that? Do they see this as a challenge? Or is he in there for another reason? Because obviously he's not monogamist. He's in the tri-state area. I'm trying to understand where this is all going. I know where it went, but at that point, I'm like, I don't understand this relationship. How long do we have to deal with this? Little did I know how long we had to deal with it. But my God, if crazy was what men wanted, I could be crazy. I could be hella crazy. Here I am being straight-laced and fun and free and sarcastic and humorous and I don't have her money. I don't. So maybe I go back to, maybe it's me. Maybe I've been looking at this the whole wrong way. Maybe guys like that kind of crap. They like it. They think of it as a challenge. Can you tell me in the comments if this is realistic to you? Because it's not to me at all. Not then. Not now. Not tomorrow. Okay? So, tell me how you felt. Thank you, everyone. Again, your comments, your likes, your shares. And there's this new feature in YouTube that's called hype. Now, I've tried to understand this. I know that some videos can be hyped. I've checked into it. I have no clue what it does. It's a stupid feature. You hype the video, there's a hype place that you can check out all hype videos, and it just seems like a whole bunch of malarkey and nonsense that YouTube is putting. Okay? And there's another situation happening on YouTube, which a lot of the big creators, I'm talking about millions of followers, have been posting on YouTube that YouTube is hiding videos from people because of a feature that people don't realize that's on automatically on their phone or desktop, which is, I'll put it up here. I'll tell you because I can't remember the name of it. You have to check to see if this is turned on automatically or not, because apparently a lot of the big creators are complaining that there's a sudden drop in views because they're not getting the views that they used to because of this hidden feature that YouTube has enabled on many people's YouTube channel. Okay. So if you're subscribed to me and you have this feature automatically turned on, you may not be getting my videos. You may not be getting my updates. You may not even know that I've posted. It's that bad. Like when you start seeing Mr. Beast level creators complaining about this on YouTube, you stop what you're doing and you listen. And this is what I've learned, that it could be that because of this enhanced feature that limits the viewing capacity, because I could be considered not viewable for people over a certain age, that even though you're subscribed to me, you're not getting the updates. I'm just saying it's something to look into. Check it out. And if you have it on your phone, you have to do it on your phone and on your laptop, every version of YouTube that you have, because if you turn it off on your YouTube mobile, it still may be active on your YouTube desktop. I didn't know that either. So I'm just putting it out there because I'm not only helping my channel, I'm helping other channels, because this is affecting not just small channels, it's affecting even the big channels. So, we put a lot of time and effort into doing these videos, and it would be very sad to know that people who are subscribed to me cannot even know that I even have updated my videos lately. And I want you all to enjoy my videos, and I want our community to grow to a very healthy, normal, loving community. So check that out. Tell your friends, ask them if they have it. And thank you for all your shares, your likes, your comments, your love. Your love moves and inspires me to no end. So I'm going to try to pump out another video this weekend because it is September 11th and I have to edit and I have to go to work tomorrow. But if I can get one out on Sunday, stay tuned. And that will be 3 videos a week that I promise that I'm going to try to do as often as possible. So I want you to all have a beautiful, 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 blessed day. Thank you. Goodbye. Mwah.